So Marianne Williamson is, of course, running for president, and she's making the rounds, doing interviews everywhere that she can. By the way, CNN has yet to reach out for an interview with her. My understanding is that every other outlet has. I think some more than others, right? Like, it's not like MSNBC is knocking down her door every day, but she's been on, once or twice or whatever on some of the shows that don't get as good ratings, although none really get good ratings on MSNBC, to be fair. But CNN is just, there might be a directive from the top, like, don't you dare talk to her. Which, by the way, again, what happened, guys? I thought you're supposed to, we're the neutral people, we're the objective people, we do real news over here. Well, here you have somebody running for president, and you're not paying them any attention whatsoever. Why? You know the answer. Because they want Biden to win. They don't want to breathe any air into Marianne Williamson's campaign, so they're just ignoring her. They're being totally indifferent to her. So they shouldn't do that. They should change that. And also, by the way, Joe Biden should be forced to debate Marianne Williamson. I think there should be a law that if somebody's challenging a president, or if we're having an election, it should be mandated by law that there are debates. Because it's very important the American people hear the different perspectives. Anyway, I digress. So she went on Fox News. She's going to talk to Neil Cavuto here. Now, Neil Cavuto is definitely a conservative ideologue, but he's one of the less hacky pundits. So, for example, I don't think he ever fed into the rigged election conspiracy theories because he thought it was total BS. There are times where he's disagreed with Trump and done it publicly and gotten a lot of crap from his audience as a result of it. So he's a conservative ideologue, but he is more authentic than most of the hosts there, as we learned from the Dominion secret text message leaks where Tucker and Hannity and Ingram were like, we know this is BS, but we're going to feed into the audience delusions. So Marianne Williamson talks to Neil Cavuto, and Neil Cavuto hits her with the classic line. Excuse me, you have all these ideas and plans. How are you going to pay for it? 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 How many times have we heard this? When Bernie ran, we heard it roughly every 7 seconds. You want to do good things, bro? How are you going to pay for it? And then meanwhile, when bad things are proposed through Congress, the pundit class is like, shh. Of course we can pay for it. Shh. Be quiet. These people are unbelievable. So anyway, but I think Marianne Williamson gives a great answer. So let's watch and we'll break it down as we go.
How are you going to pay for all of that?
Well, it's interesting. Right now, take something like healthcare alone. University of Massachusetts at Amherst has just come up with a study that says over the next 10 years, it would actually save us $5 trillion to have Medicare for all. We now pay about roughly 18.3% of our GDP goes into health care. If you look at countries that actually have universal health care, which is every other advanced democracy, look at Germany, look at Canada, maybe 10%, maybe 15%. The question is, how do we not afford to? Look at what we are paying in health care now. We have an
Let's let that point swirl around our brains a little bit. He asked her, how are you going to pay for it? And her reaction was, how can we not afford to go to Medicare for all? Because it actually saves $5.1 trillion. That's not me speaking. That's a detailed study from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Now, by the way, it's worth it to explore this more. Why does it save so much money? Guys, the answer is very simple. It turns out when you have a rapacious, unnecessary, for-profit mafia middleman, that makes it more expensive. I know, crazy. If the mafia is getting their cut, it's going to cost you more. And that's what the health insurance industry is. It's a mafia. They're an unnecessary for-profit middleman. In single-payer systems, the single insurer is the government. So you pay in with your taxes, and that money goes out to pay for healthcare for people. There is no profit motive, so they don't need to skim off the top. So it saves $5.1 trillion over a decade. So understand, Neil Cavuto's question, his point, was just utterly obliterated. That's it. It's over. How are you going to pay for it? How can we not pay for it? We need to make the transition because what we have now is more expensive. That saves money and it gives everybody health care. Point obliterated. Obliterated. Now, watch this, because this shows you the mindset in corporate media. Look at how he deals with this, and then we'll discuss it.
We have an $88 billion medical debt. 1 in 4 Americans are living with medical debt. 68,000 people every year dying
you're
for
quite
lack
right
of
about
health
all of
care.
that, but it's the idea of paying for it up front to get going, right? I mean, do you want to tax the rich? Do you want to surcharges? How are you going to? Because that's just part of it. There's a lot more. I mean, what do you?
Water off a duck's ass. Right, yeah, no, but I mean, what I was saying is how are you going to pay for it? She just told you it saves money. Right, but how are you going to pay for the lower number that it's going to cost? Dude, are you kidding me, man? Look, Bernie actually described this very well in one of the debates where he said, right now, you're paying a private tax to the health insurance companies. And I'm going to eliminate that private tax, which is way too expensive, and make you pay less money through your actual taxes. Chua, do you understand that point? If you're paying, let's make up numbers here, $8,000 a year for, top grade healthcare, and Bernie says, I'm going to get rid of the private tax, so now that $8,000 in your pocket. But you're going to have to pay out $5,000. That means you're saving $3,000, right? So yes, your taxes went up, but I got rid of the private tax, which was more expensive. That's how we're going to pay for it. That's how we're going to pay for it. We're going to replace the private tax with a public tax, and the public tax is going to cost less, so you're going to be saving $3,000. Like, that's the answer. But his brain short circuits, and he goes right back to, must go back to my robotic corporate talking points. How are you going to pay for it? Oh, you already answered, but I'm going to just say, wait, how will you pay for it? Water off a duck's ass, bro. Unbelievable.
Well, first of all, we spent trillions of dollars in Afghanistan and Iraq, which were obviously spectacular failures. And the first question people were asking was not how are you going to pay for it.
Damn. Facts. Facts. That's facts. Nobody ever, when it comes to certain things, the entire media class and the entire political establishment says, we just had a insta bailout of Silicon Valley Bank. The FDIC stepped in and said, we're going to bail you out. And then the Fed stepped in and said, we're going to bail you out. Not a single person was like, how are you going to pay for it? How you pay for it? How you pay for it? How you pay for it? But God forbid you bring up like, hey, maybe we should give free lunch to starving kids. Oh! How are you going to pay for that? How dare you? Like, this is what we're talking about here, man. This is how dumb the system is. God, I hate our corporate media so much, and I hate the political establishment so much. She's making the most obvious points in the world. You know how much Iraq costs when all is said and done? $7 trillion. $7 trillion. Again, do you hear people crying about that on mainstream media? Do you hear them? When we pulled out of Afghanistan, which, by the way, cost $2 trillion, the media was harping away for us to get back in. Oh my God, it's really messy, and the Taliban, and what about the girls and the schools? And well, what are you doing? Why are you pulling out of the illegal war we did? I think this is a great point for Marianne.
Yes, we should have a fairer taxation, particularly for the very, very rich. We should get rid of these corporate subsidies.
What is the fair taxation? I'm sorry, Ms. Williams. What is the fair taxation? What's a fair amount for the rich to pay?
I would not have a problem with a wealth tax. I would not have a problem. If you have $50 million in the bank, I don't have a problem with you paying 2% extra in tax. I don't have a problem with that. And if you have $1 billion in asset and we ask for 1% on top of that, that's not even going to affect your day. So,
facts. She's spitting.
You know, we had a 2017 tax cut. $2 trillion, 83 cents went to the highest earners and the richest corporations. Why is it, Neil?
But everyone got that tax cut, right? Everyone got that.
Hold on.
No. 83 cents on every dollar went to the top 1% in corporations in the long run of that bill. So, yeah, but we gave crumbs to the working people, huh? Oh, this is she's running circles around him, man.
The president
no,
limits
wait,
it. I'm sorry, I
me
just want to
answer
be clear. I want to limit the 400,000 and over group. That's what the president says he's targeting. Anyone beneath that, below that, will not have to worry about paying a penny more in tax. How do you feel about that?
I feel he's absolutely right. Nobody. The middle class tax cut, in the 2017 tax cut, the middle class tax cut was a good idea. So while I would wish to repeal the tax cut on the highest earners, the middle class tax cut was a good idea.
How do you differ from President Biden, the man you're trying to topple for the nomination?
Okay.
What is he saying that you are not, want to do that he's not doing?
Okay. The president approved yesterday the Willow Project, which is a massive fossil fuel extraction plan in Alaska. I would cancel that the first day. I want universal health care like in every other advanced democracy, and the president has said that he would veto a Medicare for all bill if it came to his desk. The president has said that he wants to make pharmaceutical drugs cheaper, a few of them. Like I said, I want universal health care. I want actually what they have in every other advanced democracy, whether it has to do with universal health care, paid family leave. I want to raise the minimum wage. You have
So you want to go
American
further than
workers.
this president did, even as a vice president working with Barack Obama on so-called Obamacare. You want to go way beyond that, correct?
He's so slow. He's like not prepared for this conversation. She's been saying, I support Medicare for all the entire time. And now, what are we? 4 minutes into the interview, he's like, so you're saying you want to go further than Obamacare? Like, how are you this slow, man? Come on.
I want universal health care like they have in every other advanced democracy. You don't have people die. Look at insulin alone. Look at how many millions of Americans are rationing their insulin. 18 million Americans cannot afford to fulfill the prescriptions that their doctors give to them. You don't have this happening in other advanced democracies.
I understand. So, you're going to hear critics who are saying you're going to break the bank. We have huge deficits, debt that's piling up. We're in the middle of a fiscal crunch as we speak. Banks are in great disarray, and you're going to tax it all the more. They say
you know what I'm going to do?
What do you say?
My response to that is that there are equally legitimate arguments that say if people have universal health care, if people can go to college, if we get rid of these college loan debts, if we have a higher minimum wage, this will actually stimulate the economy.
She's freaking it. She's freaking it. I mean, I think she's making phenomenal points here. I think Neil Cavuto is pretty slow for this conversation. The part was hilarious. She didn't take the bait on the tax cut thing, which massive credit to her, because I feel like there are other people who would have taken the bait. But she was like, no, I think it's good to cut taxes for working people, but I think we should raise taxes on the wealthy. That is the exact right answer. And then when Neil's like, well, then how are you different from Joe Biden? The reason he says that is because in the circles he run in, they all think that, like, Joe Biden is like Bernie Sanders. Joe Biden is like FDR. Joe Biden is some, like, far lefty or whatever. And Marianne Williamson's like, are you kidding me? He wanted to cut prescription drug prices for some drugs. I want to cut the price for all the drugs. He totally abandoned any kind of healthcare reform. I want to do Medicare for all, universal healthcare. Like, what are we talking about here? He didn't fight to raise the minimum wage for the entire country. I will do exactly that. I want a higher minimum wage for the entire country. I want free childcare. I want free college. She would eliminate all the student loan debt, not just some of it. So it's amazing when you see somebody who's not in, like, lefty world try to engage with lefty world, and they're like, I really don't see the difference between Joe Manchin and Bernie Sanders. It's like, that's on you, dog. That's on you. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.